Hello, my name is Aiden Noel, and I'm excited to talk today a little bit about a project that my partner Stevie Perlman and I designed for the Museum of Outdoor Art's 2024 Design and Build competition, and it's titled Listen to the Moon. So Stevie and I are students in the landscape architecture program at the University of Colorado, Denver, but we first met over a decade ago in jazz band in high school. So here's a picture of us and our classmates in 2014, and in addition to studying and designing together today, we also play in a music group called Treeline Trio. So here's a picture of us performing at a jazz nightclub in Denver called Dazzle. That's me there at the piano, and there's Stevie. So it was really cool to be able to take a lot of our musical knowledge and, more importantly, our collaborative relationship as musicians and apply it to this project in particular. So, as the title would suggest, the goal of this installation was to allow visitors the experience of hearing the moon. So we wanted to celebrate the site and also offer, visual component so that people can see the water level falling and rising inside of the installation itself, and then of course the acoustic element of these tones, this chorus of tones that are produced by these acoustic pipes that's changing in relationship to the moon orbiting the Earth. So our overarching goal was to somehow bring in something that's as difficult for the human mind to comprehend as the vastness of the cosmos or the tidal forces that the moon exerts on the Earth, and bring that into the human scale in a way that's experienceable and that feels visceral and that people can hopefully emotionally react to and form some new perceptions from. So the installation sits on a foundation of concrete that is inspired by the space where the ocean meets the land, meets the coast. And then there is a circular bench that's circular so that visitors can face any direction they choose. The Totara wood that's on that bench is local to New Zealand and is remarkably weather resistant. And then, of course, there's the crescent chamber that's made from tempered glass that is semi translucent so you can see the water level inside. And the acoustic pipes, which are sort of the soul, the core of this installation. And then, of course, the sound generating apparatus that hangs above that. So, to quickly walk through the function of this installation, there's a tidal gauge buoy in the ocean down below that is directly measuring the water level that is rising and falling because of the changing of the tides, that is corresponding to the moon orbiting the Earth. So, there's two high tides and two low tides per day at this site. And then that information is getting transmitted up to the cliff top where the installation sits. And there's water pumps and valves that are modulating the water level inside of the crescent chamber, which in turn is modulating the pitch of the acoustic pipes by changing the lengths of the air columns inside of them. So, as musicians ourselves, we became really excited by the opportunity of potentially harmonizing with the sounds of the moon, which helped us to realize that there's potentially a lot more offered by this installation than just simply going and checking it out. So, we created a sort of sample events calendar tied to the lunar phases that is meant to work sort of as a suggestive framework. And ideally, if this design were realized, the local community would take that framework and plug in their own events and interact with the installation in their own way, because there's no right or wrong way to experience this installation. And part of public art that's worth celebrating is that people are going to use it and experience it and react to it in any number of ways. So, to briefly contextualize our project, we wanted to highlight some of the precedent work and theory that was influential to us and inspired us along the way. Of course, there's not enough time for me to talk about each of these projects. They could each have their own presentation, but we do want to highlight one in particular, which is Sculpture in the Expanded Field by Rosalind Krauss. So, this diagram from that piece was pinned up on our wall next to our desks for the entirety of the time that we worked on this project. And it's something that we referred back to frequently, and it's also what we started with when we embarked on this project. So, when we were starting out, we were really interested in thoughts of the moon and the tidal forces, and those tidal forces' impact on humans and the earth, concepts of harmony and consonance and dissonance, the behavior of waves, both in the ocean but also sound waves, and then how those sound waves are actually perceived in different ways. So these are concepts that became the core, like the soul of our project, that were through lines that we would refer back to and pursue in terms of designing this installation in a way that preserved those core concepts and honored them. So it seemed like a really natural fit to choose the coastal bluff biome because of the ocean there and its relationship with the moon through the tides. So we grounded our installation in a particular site that's in New Zealand, and then did a full site analysis from the environmental, geological, to the climactic factors, of course, the tidal patterns and the celestial context, and then a cultural context as well, because part of the reason we chose New Zealand was because the indigenous folks that live there, the Maori, have a strong connection to the lunar calendar and the lunar phases. So then we also found some LiDAR data and created a 3D printed model of our site so that we could tactily and visually manipulate the site and look at it and think about layout and proportions, how tall that cliff really is, and the topography surrounding and things like that. So that was really fun. And then the process of going from those core concepts to designing our installation was really enjoyable. So I think everyone in our studio knew what we were doing because we were bringing in wind chimes and tuning forks, producing a lot of different sounds. And then there was a period of time where we brought in some metallic water bottles that if you tapped with a mallet would have a certain pitch, and then we'd fill them with different levels of water and see how the pitch would change as we filled or emptied them with different levels of water. So it was just a really cool process, and it was one of those projects that we woke up thinking about every day and we fell asleep thinking about every day. And then once we figured out sort of what the installation would look like and how it would take shape, then it was cool to be able to dive into the details and think through how every element of this installation would fit together and be constructible and what that might actually cost in terms of realizing it. And then, of course, the music that the installation produces is incredibly important to it. So that acoustic piece was something we thought about for a long time. And fortunately, there's great math out there to calculate the length of an air column needed to produce certain pitches. So we based the pitches of our pipes on what's called the harmonic series of overtones, which is could have its own presentation on itself again, but it is an emergent phenomenon from the physics of sound waves. And so we basically chose the intervals between the pipes that we wanted in that network of pipes. And then, of course, the collection of those pitches would rise and fall, but they would do so together. So the intervals between them would be fixed. And then, of course, we laid them out in a certain way so that if you're on the inside, particularly in the middle, you would get a stereo image of that sound. So you can see the frequencies of the sound waves here, and as the tide rises and the air columns get shorter, the frequencies are going to rise and move this way, and then as the tide gets lower, they're going to lower and move back this way. So the full rendered audio is featured in our video, and we've sped up the pitch fluctuations so that you don't have to listen to it for 12 or 24 hours to hear the changes in pitch. So to sum up, we hope that we've designed an installation that is acoustically and aesthetically appealing and honors and works with the genius loci of this site, and above all offers visitors with a chance to reconnect with and rebuild their relationship with the moon and the cosmos. So we want to thank our family, friends, teachers, peers, everyone who listened to us talk about this project nonstop for the last 6 months, and of course the Museum of Outdoor Arts for offering this design and build competition. Thank you.